Hey guys, Snoozy here. Today we're going to be going over the Javelin Amazon build here. This is going to be for Lightning Fury, and you're going to have insane density clearing. Your single target for bigger bosses like Baylor and Diablo are going to be absolutely insane. And we're going to go through a couple different variants if you don't have all the gear. We're going to showcase what it can do without an infinity on a player 8 Chaos Sanctuary run. So we have a lot of good stuff. But first, we're going to go straight into the stats here. This build will be using an Enigma, so you notice we have a lot of strength here. You're looking for 156 strength total. If you don't have Enigma, you're going to need to put more points into here to get that 156 strength. Your dexterity is going to be enough to wear your gear. For charge strike and stuff like that, we don't really care if it actually lands on the melee part here. What we're looking for is just to get the cast off, essentially. It's not really a cast, but I'm going to call it a cast because once you complete the animation, the charge bolts are going to come out, and those don't need attack rating to actually hit the target. So the dexterity is just enough to wear your gear. After that, you're going to dump the rest of your points into vitality. After you get through that, what really is important to know is the breakpoints for this build. Generally, and what I try to hit and I try to stay with to be comfortable is 68% faster cast rate. If you don't have Enigma, ignore the cast rate. You don't need it. And I try for the 52% increased attack speed breakpoint while using Titans. It can be a little awkward because you do need an IAS jewel to hit that unless you start substituting in some other way of getting your increased attack speed. If you want to go a little bit more mobile, maybe you like teleporting more, maybe you're doing Bale runs or you're doing Mephisto runs or something like that where you want to teleport faster, your next breakpoint is going to be 99%. You're going to need that 10% faster cast rate ring, and then you're going to need I think it's at least 9% cast rate on your amulet to hit that 99. I personally don't go for that because it's really hard to make up that enhanced attack speed if you don't have the High Lords on there. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and look at the gear that you're going to need. The gear is pretty straightforward for an Amazon. We're going to be using the Titan's Revenge. It's just a really good javelin. It will replenish quantity, so technically Ethereal is going to be better. However, Ethereal means you cannot repair it, but it does replenish quantity. But the caveat with that is, if you are just throwing a bunch of Lightning Furies and going through them, you could still run out. So I generally go with the non-ethereal ones. You'll get worse leech, worse physical damage, but at worst case scenario, you can at least just go and repair them and get them back and then hop back in. You don't have to wait for them to replenish. You're looking for the life leech and the enhanced damage, the highest you can afford. Really, you could just go bottom of the barrel, worst rolls, and you'll still be fine. It's just a really strong item in general. The Griffin's Eye is when, in my opinion, the build really takes off. You get that minus lightning resistance and the skill damage. If you really want to hit that 52% breakpoint, you can do so here by putting a 15% increased attack speed jewel in there. And then just for a little bit more resistance, we did a 15 IAS and a 15 all res. You don't need the 15 all res. The jewel right here is the one we put in there, just so you can get a nice little view of that. Like I said, the 15 resistance is not needed. Enigma is going to be the armor of choice. It's just the perfect armor. Essentially, my theory behind this armor is Blizzard was trying to put a broken item in the game without coming out and saying we're putting a broken item in the game. You get 2 doll skills, 45 run walk, 1 to defense. You get a ton of strength, increased maximum life percent, physical damage reduction percentage, life after each kill, you gain mana back from getting hit, and magic find. It's an absolutely insane item. I don't know what they're thinking. It's just broken. And all it costs is a jobber, so there's really no reason not to run this if you can afford it. This is an Archon plate. I generally try to stay with Mage plates because I usually don't have perfect torches and Annies. Mage plate would be my preferred one because I can kind of cut back on the stats on the torch and Annie a little bit without investing more strength in there. But really, Archon plate or Mage plate, either works. The amulet's going to be the High Lord's Wrath for the 1 skill and the 20 increased attack speed. You get Deadly Strike and a little bit of lightning resistance as well. But it's really that enhanced attack speed that we're looking for. So Cat's Eye, I believe, also has a 20%, so you could get some there. And then like we were talking about with the alternative gear sets, you could get a Javelin with some cast rate on there if you're really trying to hit that 99% faster cast rate breakpoint. For the shield, we're going to be using a Spirit Monarch. You're going to want to watch your faster cast rate roll on that to make sure you're just hitting that 68% faster cast rate breakpoint. If you don't have Enigma, don't worry about it. Just use a Spirit. Doesn't matter which. These gloves are pretty insane. I actually played Javelin Assassin on the live Battle.net realm, but I did end up selling all my Javelin stuff and re-rolling into the Frost Nova Sorceress. And I did this after I started making, or before I started making YouTube videos, so I don't have any of my Javelin gear to showcase online, and I didn't want to go buy it up. So this is inside of an editor. And really what you're looking for in the gloves here is the 2 to Javelin and Spear skills and the 20% increased attack speed. The rest of those are just really nice to have, and this gave a nice really example of what you're looking for. Realistically, the poison resistance doesn't matter. It can be any of the resistance. I think fire resistance would probably be the best, especially if you're going to be using a spirit, because the spirit doesn't have fire resistance on it. But all you need, 2 to Javelin, 20 increased attack speed. The rest is just gravy. For our rings, we're going to be using Raven Frost. The rolls really don't matter. You can get a perfect one, or you can get the lowest roll possible. What you're really trying to get is that cannot be frozen. Playing a melee character, even though this isn't really a melee character, but you do go in and start poking stuff with a javelin, the cannot be frozen is clutch. You're going to want that. I personally like the Arachnid's Mesh just for the +1 skills, 20% faster cast rate. There's a lot of options for the belts that we'll go over later. And for the ring, this is just a simple mantled heal, just to showcase really that we just need the mana stolen per hit. You know, life, resistances, strength, dex, stuff like that's all nice to have. If you're trying to get a really good ring, you're going to want the mana leech and 10 faster cast rate with maybe some life and resistances on there. But in the meantime, a mantled heal or just even a rare ring with mana leech would be good enough. Like most of my builds, we're wearing War Traps. I just like Magic Find. These are such a versatile pair of boots to have that I really just enjoy using these. So you can be any role. And if you don't have War Traps, there are a lot of other boots you can use, and we'll go over a couple of those. So with that said, we're going to go straight into this swap here. We're going to be using a Call to Arms with a Spirit Shield. It's pretty standard for almost all characters that you're going to have a Call to Arms in there. And you're doing this because the Battle Command will give you a +1 to skills, and the Battle Orders will give you a lot of life and mana. Then we're going to go straight into our inventory. You're going to want a Sunder Charm as soon as you can get one. Personally, I feel like the Amazon comes online once you get the Sunder and a Griffin's. Once you have those 2 items, I feel like there's most content in the game that you can do without an issue. After that, we're going to be getting the Grand Charms. We're going to go with the Life Grand Charms. However, on live, I don't pay for these. I just go straight basic Javelin and Spears. Whatever else comes with it, maybe it's Dex Strength, I don't care. I just go for the base ones, I'm too cheap. The other ones are, if you're trying to push faster hit recovery, you can go with the +1 to Javelin and Spear skills with faster hit recovery. But generally, I just go plain scalers and don't worry about the rest. Torch and Annie, just like every other build in the game, you're always going to want these for the amount of space that they take up. They're just absolutely insane. And then down here, these are obviously insane charms, but you're really going to just be looking for either life or resistances, and you're going to try to fill in whichever one you're feeling weak with your current gear. There's really not much here. You could also even put Magic Find small charms in here, really, if that's what you're looking for. There's a lot of different stuff you can do. For the Mercenary, we're going to go with the Andariel's Visage. There should be a Ral rune in here, I just forgot to socket it. That'll get rid of that -30 fire resist penalty for the Andariels. I never use an Ethereal one. Technically, Ethereal is best in slot, but I think for most people, you'd be better off selling the Ethereal Andariel's Visage and then buying a non-Ethereal one and pocketing the change. I really don't have problems with my Mercenary staying alive outside of like Ubers or something like that. For your armor, it's going to be the standard Fortitude. It's just the best in slot for mercenaries, in my opinion. Makes them nice and tanky, and they get a ton of damage out of it. It doesn't need to be ethereal. Maybe you have another character that uses a Fortitude, and if you're okay with swapping back and forth, you can put a non-ethereal Fortitude on here, and it'll be just fine as well. I also really enjoy the Insight for the Cryptic Axe here. I like Threshers more so, but you can really do either of those. It really doesn't matter which one you want to do. Obviously everybody's going to be asking about the Infinity, and we will be getting there, but the Insight will make sure that you're not going to run out of mana, and it's really nice to have. So with that said, in the Mercenary there, I think it's important to note some of the things that we're going here, such as we're doing the Holy Freeze. especially if you're going to be going with infinity. You know, you're getting a little bit more cold damage on there, and even without the infinity, you're slowing and chilling everything around your mercenary, and that'll give him a little bit more survivability. And it's really nice, you know, if you're teleporting and maybe you get stuck in a faster hit recovery or a dodge evade animation, and that aura will kick in and hopefully slow the stuff around you, that way you're not taking as much damage. We're going to go into the skills now, and the skills are pretty basic. These are all going to be 1-point wonders. Every single point in the passive skill tree. And they're going to be stuff like Critical Strike, give you some more attack rating, and Pierce, which will be really nice for Lightning Fury. And then I also am a big fan of the Valkyrie. You might have to recast it a couple times, but once you get geared, she's kind of beefy enough to really hold her own. She'll keep your mercenary alive a little bit more, and it's just another monster to stack on top of you once you start teleporting around. With that said, we're going to go into the Javelin skill tree, and it's pretty simple, honestly. Lightning Fury is the big skill. To me, this is the iconic reason that you would play a Javelin Amazon, because when you throw one of this, you feel like an actual god once this thing starts going off. So what we'll do is we'll actually max Lightning Fury first. Then I like to go into Charge Strike. Charge Strike is going to be your single target damage. What's really nice with this is that, as you see, it releases 12 charge bolts. A bigger boss like Bale or Diablo will get hit with all 12 of those. So 12 times, you know, say 10,000, you know, you're looking at 120,000 damage per poke. Obviously, the damage range is 1 to 10,000, so you're looking at the absolute best scenario there. I mean, you might end up just doing 12 damage, who knows. But you're also keeping track of the fact that you're reducing resistances, so that you might even take more damage. And if you have Infinity, that's going to drop the resistances even further. After that, I really like maxing Lightning Strike. This is just another poke with your Javelin and melee range, but then causes a Chain Lightning to go out. It's really useful for trying to save some of your durability on your Titans if you're trying to preserve them because you're not ready to go back to town. I'll use this to clear stuff if there's not a huge horde or they're like not clumped together. Really, Lightning Fury is really when they're going to be clumped together, you'll get a bunch of the bolts. But if everything's spread out, Lightning Strike can get rid of them pretty quick as well. From there, you can either max Power Strike or Lightning Bolt, whichever you prefer, and then for the rest of the skill points, put them in the other one. So if you max Power Strike first, dump them to Lightning Bolt, put them into Lightning Bolt, then dump the rest into Power Strike. And this will really be all you have to do. I mean, the build for this is very straightforward. It's just one in everything here, and then you max Lightning Fury and its synergies. It can't get much easier than that, and it's such a strong build that I really think you'll enjoy it. Now, some of you have been asking about alternative gear sets and stuff like that. I know a lot of my builds are focused on the end game, so I thought for the Javelin Amazon, maybe we would start with some alternative gear and then go back to some gear that you can use while you're trying to get geared up. So if you're not really interested in using the War Traps and maybe you're just really struggling for the resistance, Tri-Res boots are a really good option. You're going to want that faster run walk on them and then the 3 high resistance rolls. That strength and dexterity don't really matter, but the resistances and the run walk are what you like. These can also roll up to 25% magic find if you do want some magic find, but keep in mind, boots like this are going to be very expensive, and you're going to want to watch the strength requirements too. Although once you have Enigma, you can pretty much wear any of the boots. I think they start topping off at like 200 strength or something requirement for those boots. So keep that in mind if you don't have Enigma, that you can still wear these boots. Also keep in mind if you are taking the War Traps off that these are giving you 10 strength. So if you take these off, maybe you can't wear the rest of your gear. So be cautious with that. If you're wanting the maximum amount of damage, look no further. For your mercenary, he should be using the Infinity. The reason I'm not using an Infinity is, A, I want to showcase this build without an Infinity, because I feel like a lot of people think you have to have Infinity to be effective. You can do almost all the content in the game without an Infinity, but Infinity will make it a lot quicker, but Infinity is very expensive. Second, I don't like playing with the Infinity on my Java Zon, mostly because I'm an extremely lazy player and I don't want to use potions. I found once I get rid of the Insight, I start having mana problems even with the 7% mana leech. So I prefer to keep the Insight on there and save my currency. If you are going to be using the Infinity and you don't want to use potions, the other option that you can use for your shield is going to be the Phoenix. You're getting that level 15 Redemption Aura, so as long as you're killing stuff, you're getting life and mana back, which is really nice. You're getting, 400% enhanced damage, which will also help your leech because that's increasing your physical damage done. So you're going to get more life leech and more mana leech coming out of that. You're getting that 100 life and 10% and 15% respectively to lightning and fire resistance. Now that's important to note that that's maximum fire resistance. So that means you can actually go above the 75% cap of your resistances. So you can get really tanky with these as long as you can push your resistances up high enough.
Good evening.
Now, if you're really trying to be overkill and break the bank, look no further than the Jeweler's Monarch of Deflecting, socketed with 4 lightning facets. So this is the crown jewel. This is a very expensive item. It's completely overkill. You can accomplish the same thing, which is a 4-socketed monarch, by putting these in here, but you'll have a lower block rate. This is more for Ubers or maybe some PvP stuff. I've never actually bothered using these on a live realm. They're too expensive. I don't see the point for just general gameplay. If you're not familiar with the facets, they are these ones. They're the -5 to enemy lightning resistance and +5 to lightning skill damage. You can use the level up or the die ones. I don't really care personally when I'm using them. I generally will grab the level ups because they're cheaper. If you're not super excited about getting, the 52% enhanced attack speed breakpoint, you could put one of these inside of the Griffin's Diadem instead. It might be harder to get your breakpoint, and you might not even be able to get the breakpoint depending on what your gear is, but it will make the Griffins a lot easier to sell because most of the other builds in the game are going to be looking to have the rainbow facet in there. If you are doing Ubers or declone, it's nice to have a pair of Thunderstrokes just sitting in the bank because they do have that -15% to enemy lightning resistance. And again, you're going to have to be careful because your javelins from Titans are giving you 20 strength and 20 dex. So you're going to want to make sure that even without these, you could equip the Thunderstrokes and still wear your gear. So you're going to want to make sure of how you're putting your stat points in depending on what gear. This build is very versatile and that you can change a lot of stuff around. I didn't have most of this gear until near the end of my time with my Java Zon. And what I ended up doing when I was leveling up is actually using a treachery on myself. Even though I don't get the +2 skills because I'm not an assassin, I'm still getting 45% increased attack speed. So that plus your gloves, if you're just lucky enough to get the 20% attack speed, you're hitting your breakpoint with Titans. So you don't have to worry about having that high lords right out of the gate. And this is really nice to have early on there. And all it really costs is a Lemon to make sure that you're getting by. However, if you're looking for more of a magic find option, I do run with a Scalder's Ire a lot. Scalder's Ire is a great armor. You'll put in a perfect topaz for the 24% more magic find. And this is going to give you a lot of magic find to really help you out in that early game and try to find some of this other stuff. Early game Tarn Helm I feel like gets overlooked a lot by newer players especially. This is a really nice item. I'll even use a soccer quest on this just so I can put the perfect topaz in there for 24. Because with the perfect topaz you're getting 74% magic find plus you're getting 1 to all skills. If you are looking for more of a mid-range option, you can go to the Shaco. The Shaco will give you the 2 to all skills, life mana, and the 50 to magic resistances. The magic I find. Put a P Topaz in there to get the most out of it. For belts, I really like the Gold Wrap Heavy Belt as well. Gold Wrap's really nice because you do get the 10% increased attack speed. And if you're actually using a Treachery, that 10% attack speed from here will be enough with Titans to push you to hit your breakpoint. On top of that, you're going to get a little bit of magic find. You can also get the belt that will give you the Pierce, Razor Tail. I don't really ever use Razor Tail, but it is a really another solid option to have. On top of that, the build can really come together with all kinds of different mishmash of items. You just kind of want to watch your breakpoints and get as much plus skills as you can. So this is pretty much all you need for your gearing here. You can use a bunch of different items to really come up through the campaign and it'll be really good. But one of the things that I wanted to showcase with this build that I thought was important was how well that this build will actually do in a player 8 setting. So see how this is already set to player 8? So that's safe to say that you go ahead and have 7 players just sitting in town doing absolutely nothing to help you. And notice we're not using Infinity right now. So this would actually be faster with Infinity, but you might have to use potions. And I wanted to get past the stigma that you have to have Infinity to be able to do this. You really don't. Venom Lords you can make quick work of just by using Charge Strike on them. If you were to equip the Infinity and try to come through here, it would be a much faster playstyle and a lot quicker. So if you're trying to get through as fast as you can, maybe you're just doing Chaos runs for levels, maybe it's Terrorized, Infinity would be the way to go, but you're going to have a much more engaging gameplay where you're going to have to be worrying about potions and mana and stuff like that. And that's just generally something that I don't want to do. So I prefer to play it this way. And I mean, as you can see, even on a player 8 without the Infinity, it's going pretty quick. And yeah, I do have insane charms, but at the same time, you don't need them. Like I said, I play this all the time on live realms. I've currently sold my Javelin gear, so I don't have it to showcase it on the live runs. But I don't buy these 40 to life all small or grand charms with the +1 Javelin. I just use plain skillers. You might have to be a little bit more careful. You're not going to be able to face tank and, tele stomp everything, especially with a lower resistance curse on you. But you're still cruising. I mean, to me, this is a perfectly acceptable speed. And you have to remember, this is player 8. So if you're just playing by yourself, you'll go even faster. That spawn always makes me nervous. Lord DeSace is a smaller target, so he is harder to hit with all of the charge bolts. But for these Venom Lords, really don't be scared to get in there and give them a couple pokes. It's a lot quicker than just spamming Lightning Fury on them. Even with the Stormcasters that are supposed to be immune to you, because of your Griffins and that Sunder, you can still rip them to pieces. Even though they're supposed to be immune, they're very weak once you get the Griffins. So once you get the Griffins, that's really when I feel like the build comes online, and that's really when I start enjoying playing this build. Before you get the Griffins, you will need to be a little bit careful with where you are farming, because you're going to have to deal with the lightning immunes. I generally still farm in the pit area, even though there are some lightning immunes. It depends on how strong your mercenary is. Eldritch and Shank are some other good areas there. And you can do all kinds of different farming spots. It just might be a little bit slower trying to deal with the immunities. And as you saw here, Diablo in player 8 is no match for a couple pokes from your Javelin with a Charge Strike. Your single target damage is absolutely insane, and I know I keep saying this, but once you put on Infinity, it's even faster. I think you can probably 3 or 4 shot Diablo on player 8 with an Infinity. So that's the build, and I hope you enjoyed it. As with all of my guides, if you have questions, concerns, you want to share something that you changed up and thought was helpful, go ahead and comment it on the video. I do read all the comments. I try to respond to all the comments. Maybe you're looking for more of a real-time interaction. East Coast, 5 to 7 p.m. I try to stream every day. Even if I'm not playing Diablo 2 Resurrected, feel free to drop in, ask some questions. I really enjoy interacting with chat and trying to help you guys out. So that is my version of the Lightning Fury Javelin Amazon. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite builds in the game, and it's really strong. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.